what we're going to be doing today is a somatic meditation on feeling-based awareness. So this is going to be a meditation as a practice on moving through the world from feeling rather than thinking. So if this sounds interesting to you, if you want to get out of your head into your body, if you want to start moving through life in a brand new way, if you want to stop all of the overthinking in your head and be able to relate to yourself and life and others from a feeling place, which feels like being alive and in the world rather than disconnected and watching it go by like a movie. Any of that sounds good to you, then this will be a great introductory session on feeling-based awareness, on moving from feeling, from moving from the body rather than the head. So, leave me some emojis, leave me something if this sounds interesting to you. If you don't know who I am Andrew Daniel. I am a human on the planet Earth right now. I am the author of this book, Awaken to Your True Self, Why You're Still Stuck and How to Break Through. And I am the director at the Center for Somatic Development, where we use movement and video and through feeling and feedback help people see the unconscious archetypes, patterns, stories, blocks, traumas, all of this kind of stuff that lives in their unconscious. But we do it through the body. We do it through movement rather than only talking about it. There is talking. It's very helpful. But most of this comes from being in the body and watching the body, moving in the body, then playing that movement back so you get to see for yourself all of these subconscious things that are running your life. Some that you may be proud of, and maybe other things that may be holding you back. It is a very advanced process and can potentially be very confronting because we work with the shadow. And so it's not all love, light, and rainbows here. We also dive and delve into the deepest depths of humanity in our being. Some of it's not pretty, and some of it's gorgeous beyond words. And it's all you. It's all me. It's all us. So it is a wonderful tool and modality and approach on the path of healing, awakening, and transformation. So we can use this stuff in a purely healing and transformative way, and it's also paired perfectly with spiritual awakening. You don't have to do that to get all the benefits from the process, to get most of the benefits from the process, but at its core, there is a fundamental understanding that this is not a purely mechanical universe. We're not just machines. So that's a little bit about what I do. And what we're going to be doing today is a somatic meditation. And this is derived from cinesomatics. Everything that we're doing here is a doorway, is a introduction, derivative of the advanced cinesomatic processes that we do. So the reason I share all of that is because it sets a good stage, a good foundation for what we're going to be doing here. If that sounds good to you, stick around, and you'll potentially have whatever time you're going to have. If not, that's great. Maybe you'll be interested in some other things. So what we're going to be doing today is going to be an introduction to feeling-based awareness. So what this is going to look like is I just gave my little introduction spiel. I'm going to give a introduction to these concepts So I'm going to explain what this is, give you some conscious theory to understand, to kind of get your head around, mind around, into. And then we will go into the meditation where you'll be able to practice this, and it'll be a guided moving meditation. So we'll be using our bodies rather than just our minds. So this is one of the differences between somatic meditations and traditional, your typical meditation. So these somatic meditations, instead of trying to ignore the mind, to shut down the mind, to stop the mind, to bypass the mind with the mind, we go into the body. So rather than trying to say no, no, no thought, no mind, no mind, no mind, no mind, no mind, right? Saying no to that. Instead, we just say yes to the body. And for myself and many people, it is a much faster, much more enjoyable, much more effective way of getting out of our head than just being in our head, trying not to be in our head. Leave me a comment here if you've ever tried to not be in your head while being in your head. It just doesn't work. It's just like the ego trying to say, "Oh, you're right. Egos are bad. Here, let me help you get rid of your ego." Meanwhile, it's definitely not getting rid of itself. The other aspect is that somatic meditation is based on feeling rather than thinking. We don't spend hours saying, don't think. We just spend time saying, feel. So it's two main differences. Body-oriented rather than mind-oriented, and feeling-directed rather than thinking-directed, or not thinking, or not mind. So the eventual destination is very similar, but the paths look a little bit different. And so we're going to do some moving. We're going to be in our body. We're going to be doing some wiggling. We're going to be moving around the space rather than sitting down. So if you want to start getting prepared for that, if you have a place to move around, if you don't, then you'll be able to practice this as well. Just adapt it for your situation. But ideally, if you can walk around, that will be best. So we've gone over who I am, what this is about, what's this general approach. We've gone over what we're going to be working on today, the feeling-based awareness. And then we've just discussed the differences between traditional meditation and somatic meditation. Any questions? And then I will talk about feeling-based awareness, and then we'll get into the meditation. All right. Well, I'll get into explaining feeling-based awareness, and if any questions come up, I will answer them. All right. So what is feeling-based awareness? Other people, some people have referred to it as the felt sense. Some people refer to it as some non-symbolic or symbolic understanding. There's different words. Other people have came to similar conclusions that I have. But I've termed it feeling-based awareness. I've named it that because of its purpose. Because it's about A, your awareness, how you become aware of yourself and the space around you, and the mode in which you do that, right? Rather than analysis-based awareness, where you're in your head and analyzing things, feeling-based awareness is moving through the world from your body, from feeling, rather than your head. So it's fundamental to somatic meditation. Right? So this is the essence, the mechanics of our approach here. And it is a completely new way of moving through the world. So I want you to imagine living your life from your head. And for some of us, that might not be too hard. And this is a life where you feel like you live up here, and you're some little consciousness up here, controlling, maybe even remotely controlling, this meat suit, this machine down here. When people say things, you think about it. When you go to say things, you think about it before you do it. You have trouble being spontaneous. There is self-censoring. There is repressing. There is overthinking. There is anxiety. It can feel like the world is moving past you and you're not in it. There could be a sense of disconnection from yourself and life. You could feel foreign in this world. You tend to be overly analytical, focusing on numbers and statistics and hard facts. Not that any of that is wrong. All of that's important and necessary. We're talking about a bias. You live in that world where emotions and feelings are either worthless or very lowly regarded. So these are a few symptoms, let's say, of living your life from thinking, living your life in your head. The main aspect is that you're up here and you're perceiving life through mental filters versus perceiving life as is directly in the body through feeling. So that's going to be the primary difference. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining. If you're just joining us here, I am explaining what feeling-based awareness is and what life may be like if you're living in your head versus in your body. And two things that I feel have contributed to this in our culture. One is in the West, we're very yang oriented, right? Most industries are based in masculine philosophies, principles, and ran by men. And there generally has been, over millennia, a war against the feminine, whether it's particular women, whether it's the yin qualities in general, the shadow qualities, chaos, fluidity, softness, receiving, community. You can see that in the West, we've heavily overleaned into the yang, into the masculine. And one of those qualities is reason, logic, rationality, amazing things. So again, understand what I'm saying here. None of this is a judgment to those things. We don't want to throw those away. Those are very, very important. Reason, logic, rationality, thinking. These are essential. The problem is they've stolen the show. They've ran mutiny and are now running everything. Just like the ego has a purpose. It's just said, I'm in charge of everything now, rather than having its role. And so our culture is primarily dominated in the West overly so, and has rejected and judged and subjugated the yin aspects of ourselves much, much, much lower. So that correlates to, all right, well, thinking, being up here, is much more valuable and valid and more important and superior than being down here in the body and the feeling. And that leads us to the second reason, which is religions and spirituality. So there is a certain judgment against the animalistic parts of humanity. And you can imagine why, right? Separating ourselves from the jungle, from nature, helping civilization be able to get along and flourish by making us outside of nature, above nature, to become civilized, domesticated. We're not going around murdering, raping, stealing, burning, pillaging. Well, most of us, at least. But that's the idea, right? How do we bring civilization into a functional, cohesive way so we can survive? And a lot of that comes by suppressing and separating from these animalistic and lower energies, so to speak. Then you have religions, certain religions or spiritual beliefs that talk about ascension. They talk about you are not your body. You are more than your body. You are a soul. Your body is just a vehicle, right? We've all heard these sort of phrases. Now, these came about in a time when everyone, not everyone, but a lot of us were living, we were heathens, right? We were living much more like animals than, let's say, the stereotypical, idealized, projected, personified, idealized spiritual human being. Again, I'm speaking not from necessarily my beliefs. I'm speaking here from how history has been played out. And so there was a counter effect, an unexpected consequence of these ideas of I am not my body, I am not my body, I'm a soul, I'm just a vehicle, I'm a vessel for the divine. Ascension, moving up the energy centers into heaven, into 5D, whatever the label is. What's happened is that it's completely spun the other way. And so a lot of people in the world reject the body. They reject the flesh. But even in these teachings, right? Kingdom of heaven is embodied in my flesh. It's literally there. So what's happened over history is these teachings have been distorted, perverted, and misconstrued. And we have millions, if not billions of people judging their body, rejecting the body, trying to escape it, trying to ascend it, trying to be more than it, getting away from it. Then we have traumas. So those are the two, I think, main cultural forces. You have a society that's become much more intellectual, and then you also have spirituality that can lead us to devalue the body as well. And so these two forces, if you get an intellectual New Age person looking to ascend, it's some bad news. So why is this bad news? And why does this have anything to do with our somatic meditation? Because this is a massive struggle and cause for so many of our struggles and sufferings in our daily life. Because the idea is uniting. The idea is actualizing both the masculine and feminine within ourselves. It's not rejecting one or the other or both. It's not about losing our higher critical thinking faculties and reason and technology and going back to the Stone Ages. It's not it. But it's also not abandoning our body and what makes us human. Because our body is where everything happens. And so if you start dissociating from your body, you start not having access to life. So a big lead up here for this singular epiphany. The more you are out of your body, the less you are in life. You see this happen with people that have traumas, PTSD. You see these people that have been abused. You have people that have been hurt and retreat to their head, have been bullied. You see this in people that are trying to escape life, who don't love themselves, right? You see this everywhere. So this is very much for people who live in their head and have lost touch with life. Because it's about feeling. And you can't feel in your head. We're going to have all these AIs, all these robots, all these computers, all these machines. They're going to do most of what humans can do, but they can't feel. And so, well, for now at least, so understanding that the whole point is to feel. And you can't feel others, and you can't feel the space around you, and you can't move through life with this feeling-based approach unless you can feel. And you can't do that from your head. You can't think your feelings. You have to feel your feelings. And the greater consequence to this in your everyday life, like, okay, that's nice, but I'm struggling with finances, or with relationships, or with health, or with my family. The consequence that has on being successful or functional in those areas is that the body is the thing in time and space that is affecting all of those things. So if you are dissociated, if you are not connected into your body and moving from feeling, the image, the vision you have of your life is going to be really hard to manifest if you can't connect it into the body and create it out in the physical world. So a lot of people that live in their heads can also live in fantasies. And living in a fantasy prevents you from living in reality. But reality is where everything happens. And so this process of learning how to get out of your head and your body and start feeling will 180 your approach to life. It has mine. I was a computer programmer. I had a software company. And I was bullied, and I had all this stuff. And so I rejected the body. I said, brain over bronze, mind over might, mind over matter. And I judged and rejected and ran away to hide safely in my head, in my mind, behind a computer screen. I did that for 20 years at least, maybe 30 years. And so doing this work and reaccessing my body has been a tremendous journey. But learning how to get out of the head and live from the body and heal the judgments and move through the distortions to be able to feel again is going to give you your life back if this is something that you struggle with. So let me summarize here. We talked about the sort of history of how we got here, the two big things that culturally brought us to this point where so many of us are in our heads and not in our bodies. I talked about how it's not about rejecting the body or the mind, that we want to integrate both. And I talked about some of the benefits and the struggles that you may have living in your head versus living in your body. And what life can be like when you start living from this place. All right? So that's basically why we're here, how this helps. So what is it? That's what we're going to do in our meditation. All right? Any questions? Dorina says, you helped me realize that the same thing happened to me. Awesome. Great. Elaine, wow. That's amazing. You now officially hold, I think, perhaps the record in all of Insight Timer of the biggest donation. That is amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I don't know. I'm just saying that. I don't know. But that is certainly very, very appreciated. Thank you so much. That means a lot. All right, so what we're going to be doing today in our meditation is I'm going to be guiding you through movements to help you connect with feeling rather than thinking. And I think that's it. I think you got enough. I think you got enough data. I think your head checklist is probably well filled on what all this is about. So let's just get to it. Enough yakking. What we're going to do is we're going to take 3 breaths together to come into the meditation. I will guide you through some movements in the meditation. Then we will close with 3 breaths, and then we will stick around for Q&A and discussion afterwards. If this is your first time, I highly recommend you stay afterwards and share your experience, ask your questions, or at least listen to the discussion. There's a lot of value in it. If you go into the YouTube replays and clips channel, you'll see that there's just a treasure trove of people sharing their experience, and a lot of gems come from that. All right, great. So, as I said in the beginning, ideally you're going to want to find a place to move around. If possible, put some sort of earbuds or something in so you don't have to hold your phone or iPad or whatever it is that you're using. Make sure you can hear me while you move around. And if you can't move around, well, you'll still be able to adapt. All right, 3 breaths together. In through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. Great. Let's start off by getting into our body. One of the easiest ways to do this is to just bring your awareness from up here down, 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 all the way down to your feet into the ground. So I want you to imagine your center of beingness up here in your head. Your center of being behind your eyes and between your ears. I think for many of us, that's probably very easy to access. just kind of get this reference point. Now I want you to just start thinking. Just start thinking. Look at me, look at my video, look at the space around you, look at your hands, look at the floor. And I want you to just look around and just think about everything you're seeing. You can judge, you can analyze, you can assess, you can think about the past, you can think about the future. We want to give you this reference point so you really know what this is like. It probably feels normal to you if you're somebody who struggles with being in your head. So just give you a minute to get in touch with that. Also notice the language that I use and that you use. One of the tips, it's kind of a little trick here, start using more feeling-based language. That can be a very subtle, easy way to start moving through the world in a new way. Notice I'm saying moving through the world in a new way rather than being different. It has a completely different sensation in your body. If you can't tell that, then you're most certainly in your head, and this will be a good practice on doing that. Another trick is thinking, looking up into your head, right? So this is sort of symbolic. It really works. But it's symbolic, right? If you just take your eyes and try to look up into your brain or up into the sky and do stuff that way, right? All right, just talk to you from this place. I'm just up here. You can hear my voice. My voice is almost even higher up here, which is kind of weird. As you look at me, you probably feel me being somewhere else, right? I feel distant. You probably don't feel connected to me up here. Now, look down. Don't take your head down, but keeping your head in the same place, maybe just a little down. Look down with your eyes as if you're looking into your body. Just notice the difference. So those are two really easy things that you can start practicing. You can start showing up in the world in a new way, moving more from looking down into your body for the answers or looking to your body waiting for the answers to come up versus being up in your head looking at it, using more feeling-based words in your language rather than, let's say, visual or analytical words. All right, great. So now you have this reference point of being up in your head, your center of being up there. Now what I would like you to do is just bring your awareness to that place. And I want you to slowly start bringing that down. If you need to kind of sort of wiggle your body, wave your body a little bit to sort of get that flowing, you can do that. Or you can just bring your attention. So just imagine you, the center of you, is coming down to your neck. All right, what does it feel like for the center of your being to be in your neck? All right, now bring your center of being down into your chest. It's interesting. My legs turn on in a different way when I do that. I kind of feel shorter. That's interesting. All right. Now bring it down even further. Bring it down to your core. Right? The literal physical center of your body. And this is going to take some practice. Even for myself, it's like, wow, it really wants to be up here in my head. Right now, bring that center of your being into your genitals, into this pelvic hip region. So below your center. And if you need to just give it a little wiggle, if you need to move your body to bring your attention there, do it. That's okay. Right now, bring that center of your being into your feet. And you just imagine, you just pretend, you just make the choice. I think people tend to make this a lot more complicated and harder and esoteric than it really is. It's just awareness. That's all it is. Energy goes where attention goes. You want to move energy around your body? Just change your attention. It's really that simple. It's really interesting. So I'm doing this with you. Wow. Everything gets really slow down here. That's a trip. I'm having a little experience here while I do this with you guys, so. All right. Okay. So now you can bring that energy up. Bring your center back into the center of your body. Ooh, felt like I went somewhere there. So bring that awareness up to your center. Now, this is where things start getting fun. All right. Feeling-based awareness. A lot of lead up to this, but all of that lead up and everything we've been doing, everything I've been talking about, is to prepare you for this moment. It's to help you have this experience in a way that is as fast and easy as possible. So from this place, I want you to look around the space, look around you, and instead of thinking about everything like we did in the beginning, I want you to feel. And you can try this in a few ways. So I'm going to give you a few suggestions on different ways to internalize this. So one way is you can imagine feeling yourself reaching out and touching everything. And that could be a visualization of you imagining your hand caressing things. And as you do that, and if you want to try that, be aware how you do it. Are you doing it sensually and softly? Or are you doing it roughly and aggressively? Fast? Are you beating it, attacking it? Are you pushing it away? Are you pulling it in? Are you afraid of losing it? Or are you just being with it? So that's one way. Imagine you're actually reaching out and touching things. Another way you can try is doing nothing and allowing it in. So you look at it, you bring your attention to it, and rather than reaching out to touch it, you let it reach out to touch you, or reach in to touch you. And the most important thing here is that you're feeling it in your body rather than thinking about it in your head. And this can take practice. It took me years. So if you don't get it on the first time you've ever tried this in your whole life, that is okay. It took me years, like 3 years. And now it's the primary way I move through life. Sometimes I'm getting in my head, certainly, but this is the new default. Another way you can try practicing is looking around and not imagining anything, but sort of transferring your awareness to that thing, right? So just how we practice, right? This makes sense why we just went through that whole process of bringing your awareness to different points of your body. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it outside of ourselves. Bring that same awareness to the objects, to the space around you. So you're not thinking, you're just bringing your awareness to things around you. Just like you brought your awareness down in your body and felt from that place, you're doing the same thing. It's just outside rather than inside. You can also try to have empathy, right? So if it's helpful to imagine, all right, well, open up your empathy sort of circuits to these objects, to these things, to the space around you. Maybe you turn on emotion feeling. There's a slight difference. Emotions are a very micro derivative of feeling. I don't even know if derivative is the right word. They're related. Sensing. Right? So sensing is essentially just being a sensor. It could be visual, it could be auditorial, feeling, whatever. Where emotions are feeling. You feel your emotions, you don't think them. And if you think your emotions, well, you're not actually feeling them. So it's important to have your emotional body, your emotional receptivity open doing this. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard. Feeling includes sensing of the space and perceiving symbolic data directly and empathically, right? Having an emotional resonance, if there is one. Sometimes there's not an emotional. Like, I can feel this without having to evoke anything emotional. But those same circuits have to be on. You have to be open to it. Otherwise, you're closed off and you can't feel it. Or you can only feel it to a degree. Now, we're going to go a little advanced with this if you want, if you're able to, as in if the opportunity is there for you. Is there anybody around you? If you're not alone, if there's any people around you, or perhaps an animal. Animals can work too. See if you can bring that awareness to them. See if you can feel somebody else. Remember, this is happening through your body, not your head. You're not thinking about what other person may be feeling. You're bringing that feeling-based awareness to that person. And it's a bit like, okay, so this is another way you can imagine it and try it. Imagine being a radio antenna. If you're old enough to know what a radio is. And everything around you is broadcasting. Everything around you is broadcasting information, these signals. And all you're doing is receiving these signals from around you. And you don't have to try. You don't have to force it. You don't have to think it. You don't have to exert any energy. You just receive. All you have to do is be receptive. But to be receptive isn't to do more. It's to do less. It's to stop the blocking. As a baby, we don't have to learn how to receive. It's inherent. It's built in. We end up learning how to block and shut down and close off and protect and wall up. So to be receptive is to simply stop pushing things away or blocking things. And so this might start bringing things up for you. If you have a lot of unresolved emotional stuff going on, then you may not want to feel other people because it might hurt. It might be painful. It might evoke something. And that's perfectly understandable. And that's okay. And in the advanced somatic work that we do, that's a really good thing because it's an invitation for us to heal. And so in this work, we will actually use that to say, oh, I'm getting triggered. I don't want to open because that hurts. Okay, great. Well, this is a practice to open to that so you can feel it. And so you can heal it. You've maybe heard the expression, you have to feel it to heal it. Well, that's what we're doing here. You can heal throughout your daily life just by feeling your way through the world and being aware of your emotions and what you're feeling. Because in order to do this practice, in order to feel the space around you, you have to be willing to feel yourself. And so oftentimes we go up into our head and live a thought-heady life because we don't want to be hurt again. We don't want to feel that pain. I'll talk about that at the end, but if that's you, please pick up my book because I have a whole chapter on that that could be very life-changing for you. All right, so keep feeling through the space. Nancy says she was just trying that with her cat. Great. All right, so if you're able to walk around, let's have you stand up. If you cannot walk around, just see if you can move your hands. All right? So what we're going to do is we're going to have you walk through the space or move your hands through the space. And as you move, even when you walk, you can move your hands as well. You're just engaging more of your body. I want you to feel the space. Right? So don't analyze it. Don't judge it. Don't give it meaning. Don't project on it. Don't interpret it. Don't label it. This is a really good practice. This is a spiritual practice in many traditions. Look at things without labeling them. So we're just stopping all of this artificial construct that we're doing so that we can access reality. So walk around the space, move your hands around the space, and feel. Now, if not much is happening, you can actually touch things. So touching things is a perfectly fine approach. And just notice how you're touching things. What's the sensation? All right. Tactilely, all right, great. Then go deeper. Emotionally, what do you feel? And then even deeper, this is for more advanced folks. Symbolically, what do you feel? Archetypically, what do you feel? You can do it through touching or just bringing your attention to it. So we're going to have you do this for, let's say, a few more minutes. And I'm going to just give some suggestions while you do this. So we're going to finish the meditation with a few more minutes of this and then wrap up and then have Q&As. So just keep moving through the space. And if you find it's difficult to feel, slow down. For many people that are runners, that just speed ahead, that go really fast, you are running from feeling. You can move very fast from feeling, but most people can't in the beginning. So you have to slow down. So slow down and only move as fast as you can while you can remain in feeling. Now this is getting a little more into the somatics part, but it is still part of it. So move through the space, bring your awareness, see if you can feel the space around you. One of the things that may be helpful is intimacy. See if you can become intimate with the space, if you can let the space see inside of you. So a step further than just receiving the space, you actually let the space inside. You let it come inside and penetrate you. That's intimacy, and you're willing to do the same with it. That is going to create a life-changing connection with the world, when you can move through the world and let everything penetrate you. Well, not everything, things that you choose. It's very important to have boundaries and discernment here. But you understand the generalized way of being that I'm referring to. So that's a really good point for people that have trauma, that don't have good boundaries. This is a really good way to start that practice, because as you can feel yourself and feel others, you start to be able to feel the boundaries, the separation. And then you start to have that distinction, and it begins a whole process of connection and boundaries. Very, very important. So I'll just give you another minute to move around the space. Remember, no labels, no thinking, no meanings, no judgments. Just let the data in. There is so much information around you. There's all of this information. It's symbolic information, not heady information. It's just data coming in. All that data is love. It's all energy. It's all information. So see if you can feel it. Feel how the space is trying to inform you. Feeling, emotions. It's just information. It's just patterns. All right, great. Let's take 3 breaths together, and we'll end the meditation and move on to Q&A. All right. Give you a second to sit down. All right. Excellent. Well, we are at the top of the hour. If you have to go, thank you so much for joining. Once again, my name is Andrew Daniel, the author of this book, Awaken to Your True Self. I highly recommend you picking this up if you're somebody that struggles with being in your head, overthinking, being anxious, etc. And the director at the Center for Somatic Development, where if you like this kind of stuff, there's a whole world that awaits you. So thank you for joining. If you got to go, you'll be able to catch the rest of this replay on the YouTube Clips channel, and we'll see you next time. If you want to stick around and share your experiences or ask any questions, then we're going to have a great time talking about that stuff because there's a lot here. So thank you, guys. This was the first time I've really done a public explanation of this. So a little windy, so thank you for your patience. But this is something that's pretty advanced that usually takes many hours or sessions for people to explore and get and work with. So let me know if this was helpful, what experiences you have, if this was way over your head, or if it felt too simplified, because this is a very unique thing to teach and to share. And it's usually something I do in my advanced programs. But I feel like this was very approachable. Let me know what you think. If this was helpful for you as a first-timer. And we'll see what we can do in the future. All right, we got some comments. Great. Noni says, as I'm being honest with my feelings, I found some deep vulnerability and non-directional, purposeful without my soulmate who passed last year. My condolences for you. I've been trying to pull out of feeling so much, but began to spiral. This is so helpful. Thank you, Andrew. You're welcome. I'm sure that has been a tremendous time for you this past year. One of the biggest lessons that I've learned around loss is grieving, giving yourself permission to grieve. So many people have so much on their plate, and they don't take time or space for themselves to grieve. Grieving is beautiful. It's not what we think it is. It can feel heartbreaking and incredibly sorrowful and deeply painful. But grieving is actually a part of the healing process. So make sure, I'm sure you are, Noni, but make sure that you celebrate that passing and give yourself that time and space to let yourself feel everything. Now remember, feeling isn't about acting it out. It's not about dwelling in it. It's not about using the pain to suffer even more. For more clarification on that, you can check out the book because I talk about how we suffer. But the grief itself, the actual emotions themselves, are the entire point. It's not about feeling good. It's about feeling. Everything that you feel is there to love you, is to teach you, is to serve you. So just see if you give yourself permission. Go there. Do it. It's quite wonderful. Living life, letting ourselves feel, rather than judging them, shutting them off, closing down, all the sorts of stuff that we do. I've never met a man or a woman who is highly functional and at peace, who completely dissociated and shut down all their emotions. It's just not how it works. You can do it for a time in order to survive, cope, but it's very important that we feel. It's an act of self-love, even when it feels tremendously hard, and bad, and painful. There's always self-love on the other side. So, all right, what else do we got? Debbie says, this was a lovely experience. It was a taste that I hope to expand upon. Thank you. You're welcome. Glad you liked it. Suzanne said, interesting how incredibly good it felt to get out of the head into the body. Yes. Now, for some people, their body feels terrible. And that's why they don't want to be in there. But when you can start the healing process and heal those things, over time, it feels really, really, really good to get into the body. It feels like coming home. That's when you know. That's when you know you're on the other side of hating your body and wanting to escape the body and ascend and transcend. When it feels like you're more home and you experience that homecoming in your body versus being in your head. So, great. Thank you for sharing. No need. Tremendous. Elaine says, felt like it was a new world, one that I am a part of. Yeah, well, Elaine, we can't wait for you to be a part of the world. Hope this was helpful for you. I know this is something that you're working on. Noni says, thank you. The tears are flowing now, just feeling release. Great. Wonderful. And it's amazing, too. Even tears just are cultural and just these conditionings. You know, we just shut people down. And when I say this, I mean real tears. Like people that are actually feeling real things, that we shut down. It's terribly abusive, terribly dysfunctional. Why? Because most people can't handle it. So it's not weak. Most people are weak when they want to shut somebody down who's feeling something difficult. That's the weakness. It just gets projected on other people. Now, there are times that in life, maybe if you're in war on the front lines, breaking down and crying may be very dangerous. So there are certainly times and moments and extreme situations where we have other strategies. But generally, in our daily life, we're all safe and things are normal. Yeah. Cry, feel. And again, remember, feel. There are people that will get hysteric. There are people that act out. There are people that manipulate. They do this with fake emotions and fake tears. I'm not saying everyone does that. There are some examples of people doing that, and those are examples of people who actually don't want to feel. But when you do feel, and all of those waterworks are going, it is beautiful. It is amazing. It is wonderful. So go into it. Dive in. All right, what else do we got here? Lisa says, I appreciated the background information this and somatic counseling is teaching me and reminding me of the importance of dropping into my body. Great. Good. I'm glad you like that background information. Sometimes I can get a little, I can kind of maybe overshare. But for me, it's been helpful to really understand, how did we get here? How is this actually a problem? What is contributing to this epidemic of billions of people being out of their body? Look at the world. Look how much suffering so many people are in. This is one reason out of many. So if you can understand that, then not only is it going to help you understand how you got here, but also the state of the world and how you can show up and be an example for other people. All right. What else we got? Holly says, when I put my hands face up, I felt as though I was more receptive. With my hands out and down, I felt as though I was impacting the space with my energy. Interesting. So traditionally, so this is a little bit more in cinesomatics, where we see these archetypes come through, right? This is going to be a more receptive somatic archetype. If you don't know what this is, that's fine. You can check out cinesomatics to understand what I'm talking about here. And down, right? So you said down, you felt more like you impacted the space. So yeah, play around with that. See if you have any judgments around impacting. What would it feel like if you could give to the space? Maybe play around with, do you also impact the space while you receive? So just play a little bit with that. It's always, you just play with these things. All right. So thank you for sharing, Holly. That's some good examples. Debbie says, I was stuck in grief for years. It came out as anger. I've processed the vast majority, but feeling it glorious. Yeah, interesting how, we have this anger suppressed, or use the anger to suppress. Great. I'm so glad you were able to move through that, Debbie. Lisa says, one thing that made me feel less comfortable is that you were wearing a suit. It was very formal instead of relaxed. Well, this is my normal clothes. But thanks for that feedback. I feel very relaxed in my suit. All right. What else we got? Elaine says, in the beginning of the meditation, when you had us look around and think about the things around us, all I could think about was the negative of what I didn't like and judgments or teaming. However, when you had us feel the objects, I could focus on Okay, I'm going to have to reread this. In the beginning of the meditation, when you had us look around and think about the things around us, all I could think about was the negative of what I didn't like. Okay. So when you were looking around, all you could think about were the judgments and what you didn't like. And so when you felt the objects, you could focus on what you loved about them. Interesting. All right. So then how does that show up in your life? All right. Where in your life does that show up? With people or things or circumstances or yourself? Ron says, the more of these sessions I experience, this is probably my 5th, the more nuanced are the lessons I learn. Wonderful. Excellent. That's exactly how this is supposed to work. I'm so glad this is your 5th time, and you're getting more and more nuance in the lessons. It's the same thing with my book. You can't just read this one time. There's so much in it. And as you learn everything the first time, what you learn in the last chapter helps you understand the stuff in the beginning chapters. So it's this really beautiful upward spiral of learning and integration. And, it's like the more you learn about something, the more you can learn about it. Also, the more you learn that you don't know, but the more you learn about a subject allows you to learn more about the subject. So thank you, Ron. That's wonderful to hear. Elaine says, love your suit today. Thanks. Yeah, we all got our styles. Suzanne says, okay, I have no tears. It's been so painful not to cry. Yeah. When loved ones have passed, now that pain is stored inside, hoping they're somatic to release it. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so it sounds like you just kind of shut all that stuff off, Suzanne. Yeah, it'll be a journey to start feeling that. Be sure to check out my site. I do work with clients, so I'm a facilitator and practitioner. So this is like my daily work. Well, not meditations, but doing this in somatics. So if any of this calls out to anybody, you're all more than welcome to book an assessment or join. We have a free group. It's an awakened group based off off the book on the school platform. We don't really do a lot of cinesomatics or somatic stuff there, but we do talk about feeling and other stuff. So Debbie says, for me, it was good to hear the explanations. Good, great. Ron says, if any first-timers had trouble with this exercise, but it spoke to you at all, give another one a try. I loved this one, but the first one I encountered was much more basic and didn't go quite as far. As a regular, I was delighted to be able to go farther this time. Great. Yeah, exactly, Ron. So this is a free, public stream. So a lot of times that we have a lot of new people, and so it is more oriented to beginners. But I'm so glad that we got enough variation in here for you, for you to go a little bit deeper. So thank you so much for your support, and I'm glad that you're getting some. We do different themes. Like sometimes I've had ones on anxiety, connecting with the space, hands, feet, inside, outside, masculine, feminine. So all sorts of different things, chronic pain and suffering. So we're building up a bit of a free library here of different somatic meditations that you can go to at any time and help you out. All right. Great. Looks like we're wrapping up here. Elaine says, when I am not in my body, I focus on negative. If I am in my body, I will feel love. Yeah. Yeah, so there definitely might be something there. I'm sure we can talk about it on our next session. Ron says, does the book include exercises like the ones you use here, or are you planning to publish a workbook? So, great question. There are exercises in the book about the different topics. But as far as somatic exercises, so this book it's all about feeling. But as far as somatic movements, there's one chapter dedicated to that. And that is a banger of an exercise. A lot of people think the few bucks for the book is worth, the price of that is worth it alone just for that exercise, because it takes you through a self-directed, cinesomatic-like process. So you're able to look at what stories you have and record yourself and show up in the body in these stories, and then look at the footage and reveal some things. So if you are interested in the somatic stuff, there's a whole chapter that offers a very, very powerful exercise. As far as a workbook, I've asked people. So far, there hasn't really been a cry for it. A lot of people don't even do the exercises that are in the book. So I've thought about it. I thought a workbook would be a really great idea. I just haven't had a lot of people that said they would want it. So I'll keep it in mind if you think that could be something, or if you are just more interested in like somatic exercises to do alone. If that's the case, I am starting to work on a home study course of, it's called the Embodiment program. And so everything that we're doing here times about 50 will be in that home video course. It's a much higher price than a book, but a lot of these things require video to show and to experience. So everything I can put in a book, I do my best to stuff in the books. Everything else needs to be experienced. So I'll keep that in mind. And I just saw you donated. Thank you very much, Ron, for your donation. And be sure to join the Awaken group if you'd like. Ron says, I appreciate that your lives begin with theory, left brain, and then include an actual somatic session, right brain. Thank you for seeing that. Yep. It's the masculine and feminine, yin and yang approach. Yep. Exactly. And we need both. Some people prefer one and the other, but there's an understanding and then there's a direct experience. And that's kind of what we talked about, thinking versus feeling, direct symbolic experience. So, Ron, you're on top of things. All right. And we got one more thing here. Jessica, how do you feel about somatic yoga in terms of being helpful? Honestly, I have no clue. I thought yoga inherently was so somatic, so that might be something I'm not quite familiar with. But if you just mean yoga as the, I think, hatha yoga, just the physical movement of yoga, I think that's wonderful. As long as you're doing it in your body and in feeling. A lot of people aren't actually in their body or moving from feeling when they're doing yoga. So it doesn't have that same spiritual effect. Fun little fact, not a lot of people know. So thank you guys so much. We're going to wrap up here. We're over time. I hope this was helpful. If you found this helpful and you like this kind of stuff, subscribe on YouTube. Be sure to follow me here on Insight Timer. Tell your friends, family. Check out the book, Awaken to Your True Self. And if you are a more advanced professional and you want some help with this stuff, you can check out my work. It's not for beginners, but I am so happy to help you on your path in any way that I can. So thank you guys so much. You are welcome. Thank you for all the donations, Elaine, Ron, and all of your kind words and feedback. I'm pretty sure we'll be here next week, but you can check out stuff to find out. See you guys soon. Bye.